The ancient halls of Asgard echo with stories that have captivated humanity for over 1,000 years. Tales of gods and giants, of creation and destruction, of honor and betrayal that shape the very foundations of Northern European culture. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let me guide you through the complete tapestry of Norse mythology, from the primordial void of Ginnungagap to the twilight of Ragnarok and beyond. If you enjoy this kind of story, follow now for more calm, complete journeys through ancient myths and history. These are not merely stories crafted for entertainment around flickering fires in long wooden halls. They represent humanity's earliest attempts to understand the fundamental forces that govern existence itself. The Norse people, those seafaring warriors and traders who carved their names across medieval Europe, developed a cosmological framework so sophisticated and psychologically profound that it continues to influence literature, film, and popular culture today. But more than that, these myths preserve essential truths about courage in the face of inevitable doom, the complexity of moral choice, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos that defines the human condition. The Norse cosmos operates according to principles fundamentally different from the moral certainties that characterize many other mythological systems. Here, the gods themselves are flawed beings who make mistakes, experience doubt, and face an ultimate destiny they cannot escape despite their divine power. This mythology presents a universe where even the highest authorities must confront their limitations while maintaining their responsibilities to protect the fragile civilizations they have created. Before we encounter the mighty Aesir in their golden halls, or witness Thor's thunderous battles against the forces of chaos, we must first understand how this intricate universe came into being. The Norse creation story begins not with divine proclamation or cosmic explosion, but with emptiness so profound that it preceded even the concept of nothingness itself. In the beginning was Ginnungagap, the yawning void that existed before time, before space, before any distinction between existence and non-existence could be meaningful. This primordial emptiness stretched endlessly in all directions, a gap so vast that even the concept of measurement becomes inadequate to describe its scope. Within this void, the fundamental forces that would eventually shape reality lay dormant, waiting for the cosmic conditions that would trigger the first stirrings of creation. To the north of this great emptiness lay Niflheim, the realm of mist and ice, where eternal cold reigned supreme and the primordial spring Hvergelmir bubbled with waters so ancient they predated the concept of life itself. From this spring flowed 11 rivers, collectively known as the Elivagers, whose icy waters carried the potential for all future existence within their frozen currents. These rivers meandered through the void, their surfaces gradually hardening into layers of ice that accumulated over countless eons. To the south stretched Muspelheim, the realm of fire and blazing heat, where flames danced eternally under the watchful eye of Surtur, the fire giant whose flaming sword would one day cleave the very fabric of reality during the final battle of Ragnarok. The intense heat radiating from Muspelheim created an invisible barrier of scorching air that prevented the encroachment of ice from Niflheim, while simultaneously generating the atmospheric conditions necessary for the miraculous events that would follow. The cosmic drama of creation began when the expanding ice from Niflheim encountered the radiant heat emanating from Muspelheim within the neutral territory of Ginnungagap. This meeting of opposing elemental forces created the first chemical reactions in the universe as ice sublimated into vapor, condensed into droplets, and reformed in an endless cycle of transformation. The interaction between fire and ice generated conditions of perfect temperature and humidity that enabled the spontaneous generation of life itself. From these primordial interactions emerged Ymir, the first being in all of existence, a hermaphroditic giant whose body contained within it the potential for all future races and creatures. Ymir was neither good nor evil in any moral sense, but rather represented raw creative potential waiting to be shaped by conscious will and divine purpose. This ancient giant possessed the ability to reproduce asexually, generating offspring from various parts of his massive form, while he slumbered in the borderlands between fire and ice. As Ymir slept, his body began the process of spontaneous generation that would populate the universe with its first inhabitants. From the sweat of his left armpit emerged the first male and female giants, while his legs produced additional progeny by coupling with each other in a grotesque parody of normal reproduction. These frost giants, or Jotuns, inherited their progenitors' chaotic nature and would become the eternal enemies of order and civilization throughout the subsequent history of the Norse cosmos. The cosmic cow Audhumla emerged from the same primordial interactions that had given birth to Ymir, her massive form providing sustenance for the sleeping giant through rivers of milk that flowed from her four udders. This divine bovine represented the nurturing principle that would sustain life throughout creation, while simultaneously serving as an agent of transformation through her unique feeding habits. Audhumla survived by licking the salty ice blocks that had formed during the initial meeting of fire and ice, her warm tongue gradually revealing forms hidden within the frozen masses. For 3 days, Audhumla worked diligently at one particular block of ice, her persistent licking slowly exposing what lay concealed within. On the first day, hair became visible through the translucent ice. On the second day, a complete head emerged. On the third day, the entire form was revealed as Buri, the first of the Aesir, stepped forth from his icy prison as the most beautiful and powerful being yet to exist in the young universe. Buri possessed qualities that distinguished him fundamentally from both the chaotic giants and the nurturing cow that had freed him from the ice. He embodied consciousness, purpose, and the capacity for moral reasoning that would become the defining characteristics of the divine race he would father. Unlike Ymir, whose existence was purely instinctual, Buri could contemplate the nature of existence itself and make deliberate choices about how to shape the cosmos according to rational principles. The emergence of Buri marked the beginning of purposeful creation as opposed to the random generation that had characterized the universe's earliest stages. Where Ymir represented potential without direction, Buri embodied the organizing intelligence necessary to transform chaotic raw materials into structured reality. His presence introduced the concept of divine will as a force capable of imposing order upon the fundamental chaos that had given birth to existence itself. Buri's son Bor inherited his father's divine nature while adding new capabilities that would prove essential for the next phase of cosmic development. Bor possessed not only consciousness and will, but also the ability to form alliances and strategic partnerships that would enable him to accomplish goals beyond the reach of any single individual. This capacity for cooperation represented a crucial evolutionary advance that distinguished the emerging divine race from the solitary giants who pursued only their own immediate interests. The marriage between Bor and Besla, daughter of the giant Bolthorn, created the first alliance between the divine and giant races, while simultaneously establishing the genealogical foundation for the next generation of gods. This union was not merely a romantic partnership, but a strategic alliance that combined Bor's organizing intelligence with Besla's connection to the primal forces that had shaped the universe's earliest development. Their relationship demonstrated that creation required the integration of opposing principles rather than the domination of one over another. From this divine union emerged 3 sons, whose names would echo throughout the cosmos until its final destruction: Odin, Vili, and Ve. These brothers embodied complementary aspects of divine authority that would enable them to accomplish the most ambitious project yet attempted in the young universe. Odin brought wisdom and the hunger for knowledge that would drive him to sacrifice everything in pursuit of understanding. Vili contributed the will and determination necessary to transform vision into reality. They provided the sacred power that could sanctify their creations and imbue them with lasting significance. The three brothers surveyed the cosmos they had inherited and recognized both its potential and its fundamental limitations. While Ymir's presence had enabled the generation of life, the giants' continued existence prevented the establishment of stable geographical features and organized societies. The cosmic environment remained too chaotic to support the complex civilizations that the brothers envisioned as the ultimate purpose of creation. They understood that their grandfather's vision of purposeful cosmic order could only be realized through decisive action that would forever alter the fundamental structure of reality. The decision to kill Ymir represented the first moral choice in the universe's history, a deliberate act that would have profound consequences, extending far beyond its immediate effects. The brothers understood that their action would be interpreted as murder by Ymir's giant offspring, creating an eternal enmity between the divine and giant races that would persist until the end of time. Yet, they also recognize that the continued existence of primordial chaos would prevent the emergence of consciousness, beauty, and meaning that justified creation itself. The actual slaying of Ymir required careful planning and coordination among the three brothers, as the ancient giant possessed strength that dwarfed their own individual capabilities. They had to approach their task with both courage and cunning, using strategy rather than brute force to overcome their seemingly impossible opponent. The brothers' success demonstrated that intelligence and cooperation could triumph over raw power when guided by noble purpose and unified will. The death of Ymir triggered the first great catastrophe in cosmic history, as his massive body released torrents of blood that threatened to drown all existing life in a primordial flood. The deluge swept across the emerging landscape, eliminating almost all of the frost giants who had sprung from Ymir's body during his long slumber. Only one giant couple managed to escape the devastation by constructing a crude vessel that carried them to safety beyond the reach of the rising waters. The reach of the rising waters. These survivors, Bergelmir and his wife, would eventually repopulate the giant race and ensure that the fundamental tension between order and chaos would persist throughout all future ages. Their escape represented not a failure of the brothers' plan, but rather a necessary element that would provide the ongoing conflict essential for maintaining cosmic balance. Without the continued presence of chaotic forces, the universe would stagnate into perfect order that paradoxically contained the seeds of its own destruction. With Ymir's death accomplished and the immediate crisis of the Great Flood resolved, the three brothers turned their attention to the monumental task of reshaping the cosmos according to their divine vision. They recognized that the giant's massive corpse provided all the raw materials necessary to construct a stable, beautiful, and meaningful universe capable of supporting conscious life. Every aspect of Ymir's body would be transformed into fundamental features of the world that mortals and gods would eventually inhabit. The brothers began their cosmic construction project by establishing the basic geographical structure that would define the physical universe for all subsequent ages. Ymir's flesh became the earth itself, rich soil capable of supporting vegetation and providing foundation for mountains, valleys, and plains. His bones were transformed into towering mountain ranges that created natural boundaries between different regions, while simultaneously providing landmarks for navigation and sources of precious metals and stones. The giant's blood filled vast depressions in the landscape to create the oceans, lakes, and rivers that would sustain all future life while enabling trade and communication between distant lands. These waters retained memories of their origin in Ymir's life force, imbuing them with properties that would later prove essential for magic, healing, and spiritual transformation. The brothers ensured that these bodies of water would flow in patterns that supported rather than hindered the civilizations they planned to establish. Ymir's skull formed the dome of the sky, a vast protective canopy that sheltered the Earth from the harsh extremes of cosmic forces while providing a canvas upon which divine artistry could display its greatest achievements. The brothers positioned this celestial dome with mathematical precision, ensuring that it would remain stable throughout the ages while allowing for the complex astronomical phenomena that would mark the passage of time and seasons. To support this enormous sky dome and prevent its collapse onto the Earth below, the brothers recruited 4 powerful dwarfs whose names reflected their cosmic significance: Nordri, Sudri, Ostri, and Vestri, representing the cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west. These sturdy beings accepted the eternal responsibility of maintaining the sky's position, their unwavering dedication, ensuring that the separation between heaven and earth would persist until the final destruction of the cosmos. The giant's brain matter was hurled into the sky to form clouds that would regulate weather patterns and provide the precipitation necessary for agricultural abundance. These clouds retained something of Ymir's chaotic nature, their unpredictable movements creating the variable weather conditions that would challenge and strengthen the inhabitants of the emerging world. The brothers understood that controlled unpredictability would prove more beneficial than static perfection for developing resilience and adaptability among their future creations. From Ymir's eyebrows, the brothers constructed Midgard, the middle realm that would serve as the primary dwelling place for the human race they planned to create. This fortified enclosure provided protection from the chaotic forces that continued to operate beyond its boundaries, while maintaining sufficient openness to allow for growth, exploration, and contact with the divine realms above. The circular wall formed by the giant's eyebrows created a sacred space where civilization could develop according to divine principles. The brothers' attention then turned to illuminating their newly constructed cosmos with sources of light that would enable life to flourish and conscious beings to perceive the beauty they had created. From the realm of Muspelheim, they gathered sparks and glowing embers that they carefully positioned throughout the sky to serve as stars, providing gentle illumination during the dark hours, while simultaneously creating patterns that would guide travelers and mark the passage of seasons. 2 particularly magnificent sparks received special treatment as the brothers crafted them into the sun and moon, the primary luminaries that would govern day and night throughout the cosmos. These celestial bodies required careful regulation to prevent them from either scorching the earth with excessive heat or abandoning it to perpetual darkness. The solution required recruiting 2 humans whose names have echoed through mythology as symbols of cosmic responsibility and divine trust. Sol, whose name means sun, received the honor and burden of driving the solar chariot across the sky each day, her journey bringing light and warmth to all living things, while marking the rhythm of daily existence. Her brother Mani took charge of the lunar chariot, his more gentle illumination providing guidance during nighttime hours while governing the tidal cycles that would prove essential for maritime civilizations. These siblings accepted their cosmic duties with full knowledge that their responsibilities would continue until the end of time itself. The regularity of Sol and Mani's celestial journeys was ensured through a mechanism that combined divine ingenuity with the ongoing threat of chaos that perpetually challenged cosmic order. 2 enormous wolves, Skjold and Hati, pursued the solar and lunar chariots with relentless hunger, their eternal chase providing the motivation necessary to maintain the steady pace of day and night. These wolves represented the chaotic forces that would eventually overcome even the most carefully constructed divine systems. But their presence also guaranteed that the cosmos would remain dynamic rather than stagnating into lifeless perfection. The brothers understood that their cosmic construction project, however magnificent, remained incomplete without conscious beings capable of appreciating its beauty and participating in its ongoing development. The creation of intelligent life required even greater care and artistry than the shaping of geographical features, as consciousness itself represented the ultimate purpose toward which all their previous efforts had been directed. During one of their walks along the newly created shorelines, the three brothers discovered two pieces of driftwood whose forms suggested the potential for transformation into something far more significant. These logs, identified in some traditions as ash and elm trees, possessed qualities that made them suitable raw materials for the brothers' most ambitious creative endeavor. The wood had been shaped by wind and wave into forms that approximated the human figure, as if natural forces had been unconsciously preparing for this moment of divine intervention. Odin approached the first log and breathed into it the gift of life itself, his divine breath transforming dead wood into living flesh capable of growth, healing, and reproduction. This animation represented more than mere biological function, as Odin's breath carried within it the spark of consciousness that would enable his creation to perceive, understand, and respond to the world with intelligence and purpose. Vili contributed the gift of intelligence and emotion, endowing these first humans with the capacity for rational thought, artistic expression, and the full range of feelings that would make their existence meaningful rather than merely functional. His gift enabled them to experience joy and sorrow, love and anger, hope and fear in all their complex combinations, creating the emotional depth that would drive them to achieve greatness and create lasting works of beauty and significance. They completed the creative process by bestowing the physical senses that would allow these beings to interact effectively with their environment, while also providing them with the ability to communicate through speech and gesture. His gifts of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell opened doorways between the inner world of consciousness and the outer realm of physical reality, enabling rich exchanges that would lead to learning, growth, and cultural development. The first man received the name Ask, meaning ash tree, honoring the wood from which his body had been fashioned, while symbolizing his connection to the natural world that would sustain and challenge him throughout his existence. His companion was called Embla, meaning elm, her name reflecting both her origins and her role as the mother of all future human generations. Together, they represented the divine intention that conscious beings should live in partnership rather than isolation, sharing both burdens and joys while supporting each other through the challenges that awaited them. The brothers provided Ask and Embla with clothing appropriate to their dignity as the first humans, garments that protected them from harsh weather, while symbolizing their unique position as beings who bridged the gap between the natural world and divine realm. They were given the realm of Midgard as their home, a protected space where they could establish families, develop technologies, and create the civilizations that would justify the brothers' enormous investment in cosmic construction. The creation of humanity marked the completion of the fundamental structure of the Norse cosmos, but the brothers understood that their work had only begun. The universe they had constructed required ongoing governance and protection from the chaotic forces that continued to threaten its stability from beyond the protective barriers they had established. The frost giants who had survived Ymir's death harbored deep resentment against the gods and actively sought opportunities to undo their creative work. To address this ongoing threat while simultaneously establishing a permanent divine presence within their creation, the brothers embarked upon the construction of Asgard, the fortress city that would serve as the primary residence for their expanding family of gods. This magnificent realm was positioned strategically above Midgard, close enough to provide immediate assistance to humanity when needed, while elevated sufficiently to maintain appropriate divine majesty and authority. Asgard's construction required architectural innovations that surpassed even the cosmic engineering involved in shaping the basic universe. The city needed to accommodate not only the three brothers, but also the additional gods who would join their ranks through birth, marriage, and adoption. Each deity would require quarters appropriate to their specific duties and dignities, while the city as a whole needed defensive capabilities sufficient to withstand assaults from giants, monsters, and other hostile forces. The centerpiece of Asgard became Gladsheim, Odin's magnificent hall where the gods would gather for council meetings, ceremonial feasts, and the judicial proceedings necessary to maintain cosmic justice. This golden-roofed palace contained thrones for all 12 of the principal gods, with Odin's high seat, Lidskjalf, positioned to provide him with clear views across all 9 realms of existence. From this vantage point, the All-Father could observe events throughout the cosmos and coordinate divine responses to emerging threats and opportunities. Adjacent to Gladsheim rose Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain that would serve as Odin's primary residence and the gathering place for the heroic warriors who would comprise his army during the final battle of Ragnarok. This enormous building featured 540 doors, each wide enough to allow 800 warriors to march through abreast, creating a structure capable of accommodating the vast numbers of brave souls who would earn their place among the Einherjar through glorious death in battle. The construction of Valhalla required divine craftsmanship that exceeded mortal comprehension, as every beam, every golden shield adorning its walls, and every bench within its vast interior was designed to serve both practical and symbolic purposes. The hall's roof consisted entirely of interlocking shields that gleamed like burnished gold in the eternal light of Asgard, while spears formed the rafters that supported this magnificent canopy. These weapons were not merely decorative elements, but represented the martial valor that would define the hall's inhabitants throughout their eternal existence. Within Valhalla's enormous interior, the daily routine reflected the eternal preparation for Ragnarok that would define the final age of the cosmos. Each morning, the Einherjar would awaken and immediately arm themselves for combat training in the great courtyard of Gladsheim, where they would engage in battles so fierce that many would suffer mortal wounds. Yet as the day progressed toward its conclusion, all injuries would heal and all who had fallen would rise again, their divine nature ensuring that death itself could not diminish their numbers or their eagerness for combat. The evening feast that followed each day of training provided nourishment that surpassed anything available in the mortal realm. The boar Serimnir served as the primary source of sustenance, its magical nature allowing it to be slaughtered and prepared each evening, while regenerating completely by the following dawn. This endless supply of perfect meat ensured that no warrior would ever experience hunger, while simultaneously symbolizing the abundance that divine service provided to those who earned their place in Odin's hall. The mead that accompanied these nightly feasts flowed from the udders of the goat Heidrun, whose diet consisted entirely of leaves from Leraudur, the great tree that grew within Valhalla's courtyard. This divine beverage possessed properties that exceeded mere intoxication, providing the warriors with spiritual sustenance that strengthened their resolve while fostering the camaraderie essential for effective military cooperation. The endless supply of this sacred mead ensured that the celebration of martial brotherhood could continue throughout eternity without diminishment or interruption. The Valkyries, Odin's warrior maidens, served as both the servants who provided this nightly feast and the divine agents responsible for selecting which mortal warriors would earn admission to Valhalla through their brave deaths in battle. These magnificent beings combined feminine grace with martial prowess in ways that challenged conventional understanding of gender roles, while demonstrating that divine service required capabilities that transcended mortal limitations. Their dual nature as both nurturers and destroyers reflected the complex relationship between creation and destruction that characterized the Norse understanding of cosmic order. Each Valkyrie possessed her own distinct personality and areas of specialization, though all shared the common duty of observing mortal conflicts and identifying those warriors whose courage and skill marked them as worthy additions to Odin's eternal army. Brynhild, perhaps the most famous among their ranks, exemplified the fierce independence and unwavering dedication to justice that characterized these divine warriors. Her tragic love affair with the hero Sigurd would later demonstrate how even divine beings could become entangled in the complex web of fate that governed all existence. The selection process employed by the Valkyries required sophisticated judgment that balanced multiple competing considerations while maintaining absolute fairness in their decisions. A warrior's courage in facing death represented only one factor among many that determined their suitability for Valhalla. The Valkyries also evaluated the moral character of potential candidates, seeking individuals whose dedication to honor and protection of the innocent demonstrated the ethical foundation necessary for divine service. The moment of death provided the crucial test that separated those destined for Valhalla from warriors who would proceed to other afterlife destinations, those who faced their final moments with courage and defiance, continuing to fight until their last breath, while maintaining concern for their comrades' welfare, earned the attention of the Valkyries and the honor of joining the Einherjar. Conversely, those who died in fear or attempted to flee from battle, regardless of their previous accomplishments, would find themselves excluded from Odin's hall. The transportation of chosen warriors from the battlefield to Valhalla required the Valkyries to manifest in forms visible to dying mortals, while remaining invisible to those who would survive the conflict. This selective visibility enabled them to provide comfort and guidance to the worthy dead, while avoiding interference with the natural course of battles that had not yet reached their divinely appointed conclusions. The journey from Midgard to Asgard transcended normal spatial relationships, as the Valkyries possessed the ability to traverse the cosmic distances separating different realms instantaneously. Upon arrival in Valhalla, new warriors underwent an initiation process that transformed them from mortal heroes into divine champions capable of participating in conflicts that would determine the ultimate fate of existence itself. This transformation preserved their essential personalities and memories while enhancing their physical capabilities and providing them with weapons and armor suited to their elevated status. The process ensured that each warrior retained the individual qualities that had earned their selection, while gaining the collective identity necessary for effective military cooperation. The daily routine of weapons training that occupied the Einherjar served multiple purposes beyond simple preparation for Ragnarok. These endless exercises maintained their martial skills at peak effectiveness, while simultaneously providing entertainment and meaning during the long ages that would precede the final battle. The competitive nature of their contests fostered continuous improvement, while the camaraderie developed through shared challenges created bonds of loyalty that would prove essential when facing the ultimate test of cosmic warfare. The weapons employed in Valhalla's training sessions possessed qualities that reflected their divine origins and purposes. Each sword, spear, and shield was crafted from materials that exceeded earthly metals in both durability and effectiveness, ensuring that the warriors could practice with full intensity without fear of equipment failure. These weapons also served as symbols of the warriors' commitment to defending cosmic order against the chaotic forces that perpetually threatened its stability. Beyond the magnificent halls of Valhalla and Gladsheim, Asgard contained numerous other structures that housed the various gods and served specialized functions within the divine community. Vingolf provided a sanctuary specifically designed for goddesses, its architecture reflecting feminine aesthetic preferences while maintaining the defensive capabilities necessary for divine security. This hall acknowledged that goddess worship required spaces distinct from the masculine environments that dominated much of Asgard's public architecture. Thrudheimer served as Thor's personal residence, its design reflecting the thunder god's straightforward personality and his role as the primary defender of both gods and mortals against giant attacks. The hall's sturdy construction could withstand the tremendous forces generated by Thor's presence, while providing adequate space for storing his magical chariot and the goats that pulled it across the sky. The building's unpretentious functionality contrasted sharply with the ornate magnificence of his father's halls, while perfectly suiting its occupants' practical nature. Breidablik housed Balder the Beautiful, the most beloved of all the gods, in quarters that reflected his association with light, purity, and peace. The hall's construction incorporated materials so pure that nothing unclean or evil could exist within its boundaries, creating a sanctuary where perfect goodness could flourish without contamination from the moral ambiguity that characterized much of divine existence. This architectural purity would later prove prophetic when Baldur's death marked the beginning of the chain of events that would lead to Ragnarok. The Well of Urd, located beneath one of the roots of Yggdrasil, the World Tree, served as the meeting place for the Norns, the three sisters who wove the fates of gods and mortals alike. These mysterious beings possessed knowledge that exceeded even Odin's wisdom, their understanding of past, present, and future enabling them to perceive the ultimate consequences of every action and decision. Their daily task of weaving the threads of fate created the fundamental structure within which all events would unfold according to patterns too complex for other beings to comprehend fully. The eldest Norn, Urda, whose name means fate, or that which was, possessed complete knowledge of all events that had occurred since the beginning of time. Her sister Verdandi, representing the present moment, or that which is becoming, perceived the immediate consequences of current actions while understanding how past events influenced contemporary circumstances. The youngest sister, Skuld, whose name means that which shall be, could see the future consequences of present choices while remaining bound by the cosmic laws that prevented her from revealing this knowledge, except through cryptic hints and symbolic communications. The daily ritual performed by the Norns involved drawing water from the Well of Urd and mixing it with white clay to create a substance that they applied to the roots of Yggdrasil, ensuring the World Tree's continued health and stability. This maintenance work represented more than simple gardening, as the tree's well-being directly affected the stability of all 9 realms that it connected and supported. The Norns' careful attention to this duty demonstrated their understanding that even the most powerful cosmic structures required ongoing care and attention to maintain their proper functioning. The presence of the Norns at the base of Yggdrasil created a location where divine beings could seek guidance about future events, though the sisters' responses often proved more cryptic than helpful. Their knowledge of fate came with the understanding that premature revelation of future events could disrupt the very patterns they were meant to preserve. Consequently, their communications typically took the form of symbolic imagery and metaphorical language that required careful interpretation while avoiding direct violation of cosmic law. Odin's frequent visits to the Well of Urd reflected his insatiable hunger for knowledge and his recognition that wisdom required understanding not only what had occurred and what was currently happening, but also what would unfold in the future. These consultations with the Norns provided him with insights that informed his strategic planning, while simultaneously burdening him with knowledge of tragedies that he could foresee but not prevent. The All-Father's conversations with the Sisters of Fate revealed the terrible loneliness that accompanied supreme divine authority and ultimate responsibility for cosmic welfare. The construction of Asgard's defences required engineering solutions that could withstand attacks from giants whose strength exceeded that of normal mortals by orders of magnitude. The city's walls needed to provide complete protection, while simultaneously allowing for the free movement of gods and their authorized visitors. The solution involved more than simple physical barriers, as the defenses incorporated magical elements that could distinguish between friendly and hostile intentions while automatically adjusting their effectiveness according to the nature of the threat. The most crucial element of Asgard's defensive system was Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connected the divine realm with Midgard, while providing the only authorized means of travel between these 2 cosmic levels. This magnificent structure appeared as a shimmering arc of coloured light that spanned the vast distance between earth and heaven. Its ethereal beauty masking the sophisticated security features that monitored all traffic and prevented unauthorized access to the divine realm. Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, received the crucial responsibility of guarding Bifrost and controlling access to Asgard through his position at the bridge's heavenly terminus. His supernatural senses enabled him to see across vast distances during both day and night, while his hearing could detect sounds as subtle as grass growing or wool sprouting on sheep's backs. These enhanced perceptual abilities, combined with his unwavering dedication to duty, made him the ideal guardian for the most vulnerable point in Asgard's defensive perimeter. The Horn, which Heimdall kept constantly at his side, would serve as the alarm system that would alert all gods and heroes to the approach of Ragnarok when the final assault on cosmic order began. This instrument's sound could reach every corner of all 9 realms simultaneously, ensuring that no divine being would remain unaware when the ultimate crisis finally arrived. Until that terrible moment, the horn remained silent, while its guardian maintained his eternal vigil with patience that reflected his understanding of the cosmic significance of his duty. The political structure that governed divine society within Asgard reflected the complex relationships and competing interests that characterized any community of powerful individuals, even when those individuals possessed godlike abilities and responsibilities. The Aesir operated according to principles that combined monarchical authority with democratic consultation, recognizing Odin's supreme position while maintaining the right of other gods to express their opinions and influence major decisions through formal council meetings and informal discussions. The Thing of the Gods, the divine assembly that met regularly in Gladsheim to address issues affecting cosmic welfare, provided a forum where different perspectives could be heard and debated before reaching consensus on appropriate courses of action. These gatherings demonstrated that even divine wisdom benefited from collaborative discussion, and that the complexity of cosmic governance required input from multiple sources with different areas of expertise and concern. The relationships between individual gods within this divine assembly reflected both their family connections and their specialized roles in maintaining cosmic order. Thor's position as Odin's eldest son granted him significant influence in military matters, though his straightforward approach to problem solving sometimes conflicted with his father's preference for subtle manipulation and long-term strategic planning. The Thunder God's reputation for decisive action made him invaluable during crises that required immediate intervention, while his lack of patience for complex political maneuvering occasionally created tensions within the divine council. Frigg, Odin's wife and queen of the Aesir, wielded considerable authority over domestic affairs and matters concerning the protection of families and communities throughout the 9 realms. Her wisdom in interpersonal relationships complemented Odin's focus on cosmic strategy, creating a partnership that addressed both the grand patterns of fate and the immediate needs of individual beings under divine protection. Her ability to see future events, though she rarely spoke of what she perceived, provided an additional source of guidance that influenced divine policy through quiet conversations rather than formal pronouncements. Baldur's role within the divine hierarchy transcended his official duties to encompass a symbolic function as the embodiment of everything noble and pure that the gods sought to protect through their eternal vigilance. His presence reminded other divine beings of the higher purposes that justified their struggles against chaos, while his gentle nature provided a counterbalance to the martial atmosphere that dominated much of Asgard's culture. The universal love that all beings felt for Baldur created a unifying force that helped maintain harmony within the sometimes fractious divine community. The trickster god Loki occupied a unique position within Asgard's social structure, his complex relationship with the other gods reflecting the necessary but dangerous role that cunning and change played in maintaining cosmic balance. His blood brotherhood with Odin granted him protection and influence that his actions alone might not have earned, while his shape-shifting abilities and quicksilver intelligence made him invaluable during crises that required unconventional solutions. Yet his unpredictable nature and tendency to create problems, even while solving others, generated constant tension within the divine community. The arrival of the Vanir gods through the exchange of hostages that ended the war between the two divine races brought additional complexity to Asgard's political dynamics. Njörður and his children Freya and Freyja possessed knowledge and abilities that complemented those of the Aesir while maintaining loyalty to their own cultural traditions and values. This integration required careful navigation of competing customs and expectations while creating opportunities for learning and growth that strengthened both divine communities. The daily governance of the Nine Realms required constant attention to countless details that affected the welfare of beings ranging from the mightiest giants to the smallest insects. Divine administrators worked continuously to maintain the natural cycles that sustained life, while monitoring potential threats that might disrupt the delicate balance between order and chaos. This administrative burden necessitated a complex bureaucracy that operated across multiple cosmic levels while maintaining coordination through divine communication networks that transcended normal spatial limitations. The realm of Alfheim, home to the Light Elves, required relatively little divine oversight due to the inherently benevolent nature of its inhabitants and their commitment to promoting beauty and harmony throughout creation. These luminous beings served as allies to the gods, while maintaining their own independent culture centered around artistic achievement and the cultivation of wisdom. Their realm's proximity to Asgard facilitated regular communication and cooperation while respecting the autonomy that the Light Elves valued as essential to their continued prosperity. Vanaheim, the original home of the Vanir gods, maintained its independence even after the integration of some of its inhabitants into Asgard's divine community. The realm's emphasis on fertility, prosperity, and peaceful commerce created a different but complementary approach to cosmic governance that enriched the overall divine perspective on how to maintain universal welfare. Regular diplomatic exchanges between Asgard and Vanaheim ensured that policies affecting both realms received input from all relevant perspectives, while maintaining the distinct cultural identities that strengthened the cosmic community through diversity. The management of Midgard required perhaps the most delicate divine intervention. As human beings possessed free will that prevented direct control, while their vulnerability to manipulation by chaotic forces necessitated constant protection and guidance. The gods achieved this balance through a combination of inspiration provided to worthy individuals, intervention during crucial moments when cosmic balance hung in the balance, and the establishment of religious practices that enabled humans to align their actions with divine purposes while maintaining their essential autonomy. Divine heroes chosen from among mortals served as intermediaries between the divine and human realms, their enhanced abilities enabling them to accomplish tasks that exceeded normal human capabilities, while their mortal origins allowed them to understand and communicate effectively with their former communities. These chosen champions received divine weapons, magical knowledge, and supernatural guidance that enabled them to defend human civilization against threats that would otherwise prove overwhelming, while serving as examples of what mortals could achieve through courage and dedication to noble purposes. The complex web of relationships between gods, heroes, and mortals created opportunities for both cooperation and conflict that reflected the fundamental tensions inherent in any system that attempted to balance freedom with security. Divine interventions that protected humans from immediate threats sometimes prevented them from developing the strength and wisdom necessary to handle future challenges independently. Conversely, divine restraint that allowed humans to face difficulties without assistance sometimes resulted in tragedies that could have been prevented through timely intervention. The establishment of sacred sites throughout Midgard provided focal points where divine and human realms intersected most directly, creating locations where prayer and sacrifice could reach divine attention more readily, while divine blessings could flow more freely to mortal recipients. These temples, groves, and natural formations served as anchors that stabilized the cosmic order while providing humans with tangible evidence of divine presence and concern for their welfare. The seasonal festivals that marked important transitions throughout the year created opportunities for humans to participate consciously in the cosmic cycles that governed all existence. These celebrations honored the gods while simultaneously strengthening the bonds between divine and human communities through shared ritual activities that reinforce cultural values and cosmic understanding. The festivals also provided occasions for divine beings to observe human development and identify individuals whose exceptional qualities marked them as candidates for special attention or responsibility. The darker realms of the cosmic tree required different forms of divine attention, as the inhabitants of these regions often pursued goals that conflicted with the maintenance of cosmic order. Jotunheim, the realm of the giants, harbored beings whose resentment against the gods for Ymir's death motivated constant schemes to overthrow divine authority and return the universe to its original chaotic state. Divine intelligence networks monitored giant activities, while military forces stood ready to respond to any threats that exceeded the bounds of acceptable opposition. The giants themselves represented a complex challenge for divine governance, as their intelligence and power made them formidable opponents, while their role in maintaining cosmic balance through opposition made their complete elimination both impossible and undesirable. Some giants possessed wisdom and knowledge that even the gods found valuable, creating opportunities for cooperation despite the fundamental enmity between the two races. These relationships required careful management to gain benefits while avoiding manipulation or betrayal that could compromise divine security. Utgarda, the outer regions beyond the protective barriers of Midgard, contained dangers that tested even divine capabilities, while providing training grounds where gods and heroes could develop their abilities through confronting controlled challenges. These expeditions into hostile territory served multiple purposes, including intelligence gathering about potential threats, rescue missions to aid those who had ventured too far from safety, and diplomatic contacts with the neutral beings who might provide assistance during future crises. The realm of Helheim, ruled by the goddess Hel, required diplomatic rather than military approaches due to its ruler's legitimate authority over the dead and her complex relationship with the divine community. As Loki's daughter, Hel possessed family connections that complicated any attempts to resolve disputes through force, while her control over deceased souls gave her leverage that demanded respectful treatment. The goddess's domain provided necessary services for cosmic order, while maintaining independence that sometimes frustrated divine attempts to coordinate universal policies. The great serpent Jörmungandr, another of Loki's offspring, encircled Midgard beneath the ocean's surface, while growing continuously larger as it prepared for its destined role in Ragnarok. Divine monitoring of this cosmic threat required constant vigilance to ensure that its movements did not create premature disasters, while avoiding provocations that might trigger early activation of the prophesied final battle. The serpent's presence served as a constant reminder of the ultimate destiny that awaited all creation, while demonstrating the impossibility of permanently eliminating cosmic threats through direct action. The wolf Fenrir, bound by divine trickery after growing too large and dangerous to remain free, represented perhaps the most complex moral challenge facing divine governance. His restraint required the gods to break their word and employ deception against a being whose only crime had been growing according to his nature. This betrayal planted seeds of resentment that would bear fruit during Ragnarok, while simultaneously preventing immediate catastrophe that would have destroyed civilization before its time. The ethical dilemma posed by Fenrir's binding illustrated the tragic choices that cosmic responsibility sometimes demanded of even the most noble beings. The ongoing management of these various threats and relationships required divine resources and attention that limited the gods' ability to pursue other goals, while simultaneously providing the challenges that prevented their civilization from stagnating into complacent weakness. The eternal vigilance demanded by cosmic governance created a way of life that emphasized duty and sacrifice, while offering the satisfaction of protecting countless innocent beings who depended on divine protection for their survival and prosperity. The development of runic writing provided the gods with a communication system that could transcend normal spatial and temporal limitations, while encoding information in forms that protected divine secrets from unauthorized access. Odin's discovery of the runes through his self-sacrifice on Yggdrasil granted him access to knowledge that enhanced divine capabilities, while creating new responsibilities for managing information that could prove dangerous if misused. The careful dissemination of runic knowledge to worthy mortals enabled improved communication between divine and human realms, while maintaining security through selective revelation of different levels of understanding. The magical arts that flourished under divine patronage created tools and techniques that enhanced the effectiveness of both gods and mortals, while requiring careful regulation to prevent abuse that could disrupt cosmic balance. Cider, the form of magic associated primarily with the Vanir gods and practiced most notably by Freya, involved manipulation of fate and fortune through rituals that required profound understanding of cosmic forces and their interconnections. This practice provided powerful capabilities for those who mastered its complexities while demanding ethical restraint that not all practitioners possessed. The creation of magical artifacts by divine craftsmen produced tools that extended divine capabilities while serving as symbols of authority and responsibility within the cosmic hierarchy. Thor's hammer Mjolnir, crafted by the dwarven brothers Broka and Eitri, exemplified the collaboration between different races that created implements whose power exceeded what any single group could achieve independently. The hammer's ability to never miss its target and always return to Thor's hand made it an ideal weapon for defending cosmic order, while its requirement for worthy character to lift it ensured that such power could not fall into wrong hands. Odin's eight-legged horse Sleipnir, born from Loki's shape-shifting encounter with a giant stallion, provided the Allfather with transportation capabilities that enabled him to travel between realms more quickly than any other being. This mount's supernatural speed and ability to traverse barriers that would stop normal horses made it invaluable for diplomatic missions, intelligence gathering, and emergency interventions that required divine presence in distant locations. Sleipnir's unusual origins reflected the complex relationships and unexpected alliances that characterized divine society, while demonstrating how even problematic situations could yield beneficial results. The establishment of dwarven kingdoms within the mountains and underground caverns created additional complexity for divine governance, while providing access to craftsmanship and resources that enhanced cosmic civilization. These industrious beings possessed skills in metallurgy, engineering, and magical item creation that exceeded even divine capabilities in some areas, making them valuable allies whose cooperation required diplomatic finesse rather than simple commands. The dwarves' tendency toward isolation and their occasional conflicts with each other necessitated divine mediation, while their creations often played crucial roles in maintaining cosmic balance. The four stags that grazed among Yggdrasil's branches served essential ecological functions while symbolizing the dynamic forces that maintained the world tree's health and vitality. Dain, Dvalin, Dunir, and Durathor consumed the tree's foliage in patterns that promoted new growth while preventing any single area from becoming overgrown or stagnant. Their activities represented the constructive aspects of change and renewal that prevented even the most stable cosmic structures from becoming rigid and lifeless. The dragon Nidhugger, which gnawed continuously at Yggdrasil's roots, embodied the destructive forces that challenged all creation while serving the necessary function of preventing cosmic structures from becoming so permanent that they could not adapt to changing circumstances. This ancient serpent's activities created ongoing damage that required constant repair and attention, while simultaneously ensuring that the world tree remained dynamic rather than static. The balance between Nidhugger's destruction and the natural healing processes of the tree reflected the fundamental cosmic principle that creation and destruction must work together to maintain meaningful existence. The eagle that perched in Yggdrasil's highest branches engaged in eternal conflict with Nidhogger through messages carried by the squirrel Ratatoska, who scurried up and down the tree's trunk while delivering insults and provocations between the two antagonists. This ongoing dispute created dramatic tension that prevented either creature from becoming complacent, while ensuring that both remained actively engaged in their cosmic functions. Ratatoska's role as messenger and instigator demonstrated how even apparently minor figures could play crucial parts in maintaining the dynamic tensions that kept the universe functioning properly. The Well of Mimir, located beneath another of Yggdrasil's roots, contained waters of wisdom and memory that provided access to knowledge spanning all of cosmic history. The giant Mimir, who guarded this sacred spring, possessed understanding that rivaled or exceeded that of the gods themselves, making him a valuable but dangerous source of information for those bold enough to seek his counsel. Odin's sacrifice of his eye to drink from this well demonstrated the extreme measures that divine beings would accept to gain knowledge essential for their cosmic responsibilities. As the ages passed and divine civilization matured, the gods developed increasingly sophisticated understanding of their roles and responsibilities, while simultaneously becoming aware of the ultimate limits that constrained even their considerable powers. The prophecies concerning Ragnarok cast shadows over all divine activities, while providing motivation for the careful preparation and eternal vigilance that characterized divine culture. Knowledge of their eventual defeat created a unique form of heroism that involved fighting against inevitable doom while maintaining hope and dedication to protecting those under their care. The recruitment and training of mortal heroes intensified as the gods recognized that the final battle would require all available allies, regardless of their origins or initial capabilities. Divine mentorship programs identified promising individuals whose potential could be developed through appropriate challenges and guidance, while magical enhancements provided them with abilities that approached divine levels during crucial moments. These partnerships between gods and mortals created bonds that transcended the normal barriers between different levels of existence, while demonstrating that courage and nobility could emerge from any circumstances when properly nurtured and challenged. 2. The preparation for Ragnarok became the defining purpose that shaped every aspect of divine activity, as the gods recognized that their ultimate test approached with each passing season. Yet this knowledge of inevitable doom did not create despair, but rather inspired a form of noble determination that elevated their daily existence beyond mere survival towards something approaching transcendent meaning. The certainty of eventual defeat paradoxically liberated them from the burden of achieving permanent victory, while enabling them to focus entirely on the quality of their resistance and the legacy they would leave for whatever might emerge from cosmic destruction. The training regimens developed for both divine and mortal warriors reflected this philosophical transformation as combat preparation evolved beyond simple technical skill development to encompass spiritual and psychological conditioning that would enable participants to maintain courage and effectiveness even when facing hopeless odds. These programs recognized that the final battle would test character rather than merely physical capability, requiring participants to discover reserves of strength and determination that exceeded their normal limitations, while remaining true to the ethical principles that justified their cause. The weapons forged in preparation for Ragnarok incorporated not only the finest materials and most advanced techniques available to divine craftsmen, but also symbolic elements that connected each item to the cosmic purposes it would serve during the ultimate conflict. Every sword, spear, and shield became a tangible representation of the values and commitments that motivated its wielder, while possessing practical capabilities that reflected the collaborative efforts of gods, dwarves, and other skilled beings who contributed their expertise to the common cause of defending cosmic order. The development of military strategies suitable for Ragnarok required unprecedented cooperation between different divine personalities, whose individual approaches to conflict sometimes conflicted with the coordination necessary for effective large-scale warfare. Thor's preference for direct confrontation needed to be integrated with Odin's subtle manipulation of circumstances, while Tyr's commitment to honorable combat had to accommodate the harsh realities of fighting opponents who recognized no ethical constraints on their behavior. These strategic discussions created opportunities for mutual understanding while revealing the complexity of maintaining unity among beings whose individual excellence sometimes created friction during collaborative efforts. The intelligence networks, established to monitor potential threats, evolved into sophisticated information systems that tracked not only immediate dangers, but also long-term trends that might influence the timing and circumstances of the prophesied final battle. Divine agents operating throughout all 9 realms gathered data about giant military preparations, alliance formations among hostile forces, and environmental changes that might create opportunities or vulnerabilities during the crucial period when cosmic stability would face its ultimate test. The diplomatic initiatives undertaken to secure additional allies for the coming conflict required careful navigation of complex relationships between different groups, whose historical grievances and competing interests often prevented natural cooperation despite their shared stake in cosmic survival. Negotiations with neutral giants who might be persuaded to abandon their traditional hostility toward divine authority demanded delicate balance between offering sufficient incentives to gain support while maintaining the integrity that made divine promises trustworthy and meaningful. The economic preparations necessary to sustain extended warfare involved comprehensive resource management that addressed not only immediate military needs, but also the long-term welfare of civilian populations who would require protection and support throughout the period of cosmic crisis. Divine administrators developed stockpiling programs that accumulated essential supplies while maintaining the trade relationships and productive activities that generated wealth necessary for supporting both military forces and dependent communities across multiple realms. The cultural initiatives designed to preserve essential knowledge and values through the anticipated period of destruction created archives and educational programs that would enable survivors to rebuild civilization according to principles that honored the best achievements of divine and mortal cooperation. These preservation efforts recognized that physical survival alone would prove meaningless unless accompanied by transmission of the wisdom and ethical understanding that gave existence purpose and direction beyond mere continuation of biological processes. The spiritual preparation undertaken by divine beings themselves involved confronting the psychological challenges of maintaining hope and dedication while possessing certain knowledge of eventual defeat and death. This internal work required developing forms of courage that transcended attachment to personal survival while discovering meaning in struggle itself rather than in achieving permanent victory over opposing forces. The gods learned to find satisfaction in each successful defense of innocent life, and each moment of beauty preserved against destructive chaos, regardless of ultimate outcomes. The relationships between gods and mortals deepened during this preparatory period, as shared awareness of cosmic crisis created bonds of mutual dependence and understanding that transcended the hierarchical distinctions that had previously characterized divine-human interactions. Mortal heroes who proved themselves through exceptional service earned recognition as true companions, rather than merely useful subordinates, while divine beings discovered that partnership with worthy humans enhanced their own capabilities and provided emotional support during periods of doubt and difficulty. The technological innovations developed through collaborative efforts between gods, dwarves, and exceptional mortals produced advances in warfare, communication, and protection that exceeded what any single group could have achieved independently, while demonstrating the creative potential that emerged from cooperation between different forms of intelligence and expertise. These joint projects created precedents for the kind of unified effort that would prove essential during Ragnarok, while providing immediate benefits that improved quality of life throughout the cosmic community. The environmental management programs implemented to maintain cosmic stability during the period of increasing chaos required unprecedented coordination between divine agencies responsible for different aspects of natural order, while adapting to disruptions caused by the growing influence of destructive forces. Climate regulation became increasingly difficult as opposing powers interfered with normal weather patterns, while geological stability faced new challenges from the movements of cosmic monsters, whose activities grew bolder as they sensed the approach of their destined moment of freedom. The magical research conducted to develop new defensive capabilities explored previously forbidden areas of knowledge that carried significant risks, but offered potential advantages that might prove crucial during the final confrontation. These investigations required careful balance between gaining necessary power and maintaining the ethical integrity that distinguished divine authority from the chaotic forces they opposed, while ensuring that desperate circumstances did not corrupt the very values that made cosmic order worth defending. The prophetic studies undertaken to understand the precise timing and circumstances of Ragnarok revealed the complex interplay of fate and free will that governed cosmic developments, while providing guidance that enabled more effective preparation without creating the despair that might have resulted from complete knowledge of inevitable tragedy. The Norns' cryptic communications required sophisticated interpretation that balanced acceptance of unchangeable destiny with recognition of opportunities for meaningful choice within predetermined parameters. The artistic and cultural flowering that characterized this preparatory period reflected divine determination to create beauty and meaning, even while preparing for destruction, while demonstrating that knowledge of mortality enhanced rather than diminished appreciation for life's precious moments. Poetry, music, and visual arts achieved new heights of achievement as creators drew inspiration from the poignant awareness that their works might represent final expressions of divine civilization's highest aspirations and accomplishments. The educational reforms implemented throughout divine society ensured that all beings understood their roles and responsibilities during the coming crisis, while providing the knowledge and skills necessary for effective participation in both military operations and civilian support activities. These programs emphasize not only practical capabilities, but also the philosophical understanding that would enable participants to maintain motivation and effectiveness, even when facing circumstances that challenge their fundamental assumptions about justice and cosmic order. The healing arts advanced significantly during this period as divine physicians developed new techniques for treating the physical and psychological wounds that would inevitably result from prolonged conflict, while creating treatment protocols that could function effectively under battlefield conditions where normal medical resources might be unavailable. These medical innovations address not only trauma care, but also the prevention of diseases and injuries that might compromise military effectiveness during crucial periods. The engineering projects undertaken to fortify critical locations throughout the cosmic community created defensive installations that could withstand attacks from forces whose power exceeded anything previously encountered, while providing secure bases for counterattack operations that would harass and delay advancing enemy forces. These fortifications incorporated both physical barriers and magical protections, while maintaining the communication networks necessary for coordinated resistance efforts across vast distances. The agricultural programs developed to ensure food security during extended warfare addressed the challenges of maintaining productive capacity while protecting farming communities from raids and disruption by hostile forces seeking to weaken divine civilization through economic warfare. These initiatives included both defensive measures that protected existing agricultural areas and innovation in food production techniques that increased yields while reducing vulnerability to natural and artificial disasters. The financial systems established to coordinate resource allocation during wartime created mechanisms for distributing wealth and supplies according to strategic priorities, while maintaining the trade relationships that provided access to materials and services unavailable within divine territory. These economic arrangements required sophisticated understanding of market forces and supply chain management, while adapting to the disruptions that warfare would inevitably create in normal commercial patterns. The communication networks expanded to ensure reliable information flow during chaotic conditions, developed multiple redundant channels that could function even when primary systems, faced interference or destruction by enemy action. These networks incorporated both technological solutions that enhanced message transmission capabilities and human elements that provided interpretation and analysis of complex information, requiring judgment and contextual understanding that exceeded purely mechanical processing capabilities. The transportation systems enhanced to support rapid movement of personnel and supplies throughout the cosmic community created infrastructure that could accommodate the massive logistical requirements of large-scale military operations while maintaining flexibility to adapt to changing tactical situations and battlefield conditions. These systems integrated various forms of travel, including divine magic, conventional vehicles, and supernatural mounts, that provided different capabilities suitable for specific mission requirements and environmental conditions. The alliance structures negotiated with potential partners throughout the 9 realms created formal agreements that defined mutual obligations and support mechanisms while establishing command relationships that would enable effective coordination during joint operations against common enemies. These diplomatic achievements required overcoming historical grievances and cultural differences that had previously prevented cooperation while building trust through shared training exercises and collaborative projects that demonstrated commitment to common goals. The intelligence analysis capabilities developed to understand enemy intentions and capabilities created systematic approaches to information gathering and evaluation that could penetrate deceptive practices while providing accurate assessments of threats and opportunities that would influence strategic decision-making during critical periods. These analytical systems combined divine supernatural perception with systematic methodology that enhanced accuracy while reducing the risks of misinterpretation that could lead to strategic errors with catastrophic consequences. The psychological warfare programs designed to undermine enemy morale and cohesion explored techniques for exploiting the internal divisions and conflicting motivations that characterized hostile alliances, while maintaining the ethical standards that distinguish divine methods from the manipulative practices employed by chaotic forces. These operations required sophisticated understanding of enemy psychology and social dynamics, while preserving the moral authority that provided divine forces with advantages beyond mere military capability. The counterintelligence efforts undertaken to protect divine secrets and operations from enemy penetration developed security protocols that could identify and neutralize hostile agents while maintaining the openness and trust that characterized healthy divine society. These programs balanced necessary security measures with preservation of the cultural values that made divine civilization worth defending, while adapting to increasingly sophisticated enemy attempts to gather information and disrupt divine activities through deception and infiltration. The research and development programs focused on advancing divine capabilities, explored new applications of existing knowledge while investigating previously unknown phenomena that might provide advantages during the coming conflict. These scientific and magical investigations pushed the boundaries of understanding while maintaining safety protocols that prevented accidental catastrophes that might compromise divine security or create new threats that would complicate already challenging circumstances. The recruitment programs designed to identify and develop exceptional individuals who might contribute to divine efforts during Ragnarok created pathways for advancement that recognized merit and potential regardless of original social status or racial background, while providing training and support that enabled talented beings to achieve their maximum capability in service of common goals. These initiatives demonstrated divine commitment to justice and opportunity, while building the diverse coalition necessary for effective resistance against cosmic destruction. As these comprehensive preparations continued across all aspects of divine civilization, the gods maintained awareness that their efforts represented more than mere survival strategy, but rather affirmation of the values and purposes that gave meaning to existence itself. The knowledge that their preparations might ultimately prove insufficient to prevent cosmic destruction did not diminish their dedication, but rather intensified their commitment to ensuring that their resistance would exemplify the noble principles they sought to preserve, for whatever new creation might emerge from the ashes of the old world. The daily routines of divine life continued despite the shadow of approaching doom, as gods and mortals alike discovered that maintaining normal activities provided psychological stability and practical benefits that enhanced rather than distracted from military preparation. Festivals continued to mark seasonal changes, while craftsmen pursued their arts with renewed dedication, and farmers tended their crops with careful attention to techniques that would maximize yields during uncertain times ahead. The children born during this preparatory period received special attention as potential inheritors of whatever might survive cosmic destruction, while their education emphasized both practical skills necessary for survival and cultural knowledge that would enable them to rebuild civilization according to worthy principles. These young beings represented hope for continuity beyond the anticipated catastrophe, while their presence reminded adult beings of the stakes involved in their desperate struggle against inevitable fate. The relationships between different generations within divine society evolved as older beings shared wisdom gained through long experience, while younger ones contributed energy and fresh perspectives that prevented stagnation in strategic thinking and cultural development. These intergenerational exchanges created mutual respect and understanding that strengthened community bonds while ensuring that essential knowledge would be transmitted, even if formal educational institutions faced destruction during the coming crisis. The philosophical discussions that flourished during this period addressed fundamental questions about the nature of existence, the meaning of struggle against impossible odds, and the value of maintaining ethical principles even when facing opponents who recognized no moral constraints on their behavior. These intellectual explorations provided spiritual sustenance that enabled divine beings to maintain hope and purpose, while developing the conceptual frameworks necessary for making difficult decisions under extreme pressure and uncertain circumstances. The artistic collaborations undertaken between beings from different realms and species created works of unprecedented beauty and significance, while demonstrating the creative potential that emerged from cooperation between diverse forms of consciousness and capability. These cultural achievements provided tangible evidence of what divine civilization had accomplished, while creating legacies that might inspire future generations, regardless of what survived the anticipated cosmic destruction that would test everything they had built together. The mysteries surrounding death and the afterlife occupied a central place in Norse consciousness, as these seafaring people understood better than most that existence balanced precariously between triumph and tragedy, between the warmth of the hearth and the cold embrace of the grave. Their mythology developed sophisticated explanations for what happened to human souls after death, creating a complex system of destinations that reflected both moral judgment and the circumstances surrounding one's final moments. Hel, the goddess who ruled the realm of the dead, embodied the Norse understanding that death itself was neither purely evil nor entirely benevolent, but rather a necessary transition that required governance by beings who understood both the sorrows and the dignities inherent in mortal existence. As Loki's daughter and sister to the wolf Fenrir and the great serpent Jomungandr, she possessed the complex nature that characterized her entire family, combining authority and compassion with an underlying connection to the chaotic forces that would ultimately reshape the cosmos. The goddess herself appeared as a figure both beautiful and terrible, her body divided between living flesh and decaying bone in a visual representation of the boundary she governed between life and death. This dual nature enabled her to understand the perspectives of both the living who feared death and the dead who had passed beyond mortal concerns, making her uniquely qualified to serve as arbiter of posthumous justice and administrator of the vast realm that would eventually house the majority of all who had ever lived. Helheim stretched beneath the roots of Yggdrasil in caverns so vast that their boundaries remained unknown even to their divine ruler, creating space sufficient to accommodate the countless souls who would arrive throughout all the ages of the world. The realm's geography reflected its function as a place of rest and reflection rather than punishment, with meadows where the peaceful dead could wander, halls where families could reunite, and quiet streams where souls could contemplate their earthly experiences without the pressures and distractions that had characterized their mortal existence. The journey to Helheim required traversing landscapes that tested the resolve and character of departing souls, while providing opportunities for final reflection on the lives they were leaving behind. The path led across the bridge Gjalabru, spanning the river Gjöll whose dark waters separated the world of the living from the realm of the dead. This crossing served as a final threshold where souls could look back at the life they had completed while preparing for whatever awaited them in their posthumous existence. The bridge's guardian, the maiden Modgud, questioned each soul about their identity and the nature of their death, while observing their responses to determine their fitness for entering Hell's domain. This examination focused not on moral judgment in any absolute sense, but rather on ensuring that souls understood the finality of their transition and possessed the psychological preparation necessary for adapting to their new form of existence beyond the concerns and ambitions that had driven their mortal lives. The Great Gate, Helgrind, stood at the entrance to the realm proper, its massive iron barriers requiring specific knowledge and proper authorization for passage, while serving as a final protection against unauthorized intrusions by the living or premature departures by souls not yet ready for their eternal rest. The gate's imposing presence reminded all who approached that death represented a fundamental transformation that could not be reversed through wishful thinking or desperate schemes, while its careful security ensured that the natural order separating life and death would be maintained despite the various supernatural forces that might seek to violate these essential boundaries. Within Helheim itself, souls found themselves organized into communities that reflected their earthly relationships and shared experiences while adapting to forms of existence that transcended the physical limitations and temporal pressures that had constrained their mortal lives. Families reunited across generations could share knowledge and perspectives that spanned centuries, while craftsmen could pursue their arts with perfect materials and unlimited time, creating works of beauty that exceeded anything possible in the material world, where practical necessities and mortal limitations constrained creative expression. The Hall El Judnir served as Hel's personal residence and the administrative center where the goddess conducted the business of governing her vast domain, while receiving visitors from other realms who sought her counsel or assistance in matters requiring her unique perspective and authority. The hall's architecture combined the somber dignity appropriate to its function with comforts that acknowledged the goddess's divine status, creating an environment where serious business could be conducted while maintaining the hospitality traditions that characterized all proper divine residences. The goddess's servants included beings from various backgrounds who had distinguished themselves through service during their earthly lives, or demonstrated special aptitude for the administrative tasks required to maintain order among the countless souls under Hel's protection. These assistants helped newcomers adjust to their changed circumstances, while maintaining the records and communication systems that enabled the realm to function effectively despite its enormous size and the constant arrival of new residents requiring orientation and placement within appropriate communities. The daily routine within Helheim followed patterns that provided structure and meaning, without the urgency that had characterized mortal existence, allowing souls to pursue interests and relationships that they had been forced to neglect during their earthly lives, due to the practical necessities of survival and social obligation. Time moved differently in the realm of the dead, with seasons marked by subtle changes in atmosphere and light, rather than the agricultural cycles that had governed mortal activities, creating opportunities for contemplation and development that extended indefinitely without the pressure of approaching death that had motivated so much mortal behavior. The relationship between Helheim and the other cosmic realms remained complex, due to Hel's family connections and her legitimate authority over matters affecting all beings who would eventually face death. The goddess maintained diplomatic relations with Asgard, despite the tensions created by her father Loki's increasingly problematic behavior, recognizing that cooperation between divine realms served the interests of cosmic stability while preserving her independence in matters falling within her proper jurisdiction. Negotiations between Hel and other divine authorities occasionally arose when circumstances required exceptions to the normal rules governing death and resurrection, though the goddess approached such requests with extreme caution due to her understanding that premature resurrection could disrupt the natural order, while creating precedents that might encourage dangerous attempts to circumvent mortality entirely. Her decisions in these matters reflected both compassion for individual suffering and responsibility for maintaining the cosmic balance that prevented existence from degenerating into chaos. The most famous of these negotiations would occur when Baldur's death created a crisis that threatened the stability of divine society and prompted desperate attempts to secure his return from the realm of the dead. Hel's response to these entreaties would demonstrate both her fairness and her commitment to the principles that governed her domain, while revealing the limits that constrained even divine authority when confronting the fundamental laws that structured cosmic existence. The warriors who died in battle but were not selected for Valhalla found themselves welcomed in Helheim as honored guests whose courage had earned them respect, even though their deaths had not met the specific criteria required for admission to Odin's hall. These souls often formed military units within Hel's realm, maintaining their martial skills and camaraderie, while adapting to peaceful purposes that utilize their organizational abilities and leadership experience for the benefit of their new communities. The merchants and craftsmen who had contributed to civilization through their economic activities discovered opportunities within Helheim to continue their pursuits without the competitive pressures and resource limitations that had constrained their earthly endeavors. Trade networks developed between different areas of the vast realm, creating markets where souls could exchange goods and services while pursuing projects that reflected their personal interests rather than mere survival necessities. The farmers and laborers whose earthly lives had been devoted to providing sustenance and maintaining the practical foundations of civilization found themselves able to pursue agricultural and construction projects that enhanced the beauty and comfort of their posthumous communities while exploring techniques and crops that had been impossible under mortal conditions. These activities provided both practical benefits and psychological satisfaction, while maintaining connections to the skills and knowledge that had defined their earthly identities. The scholars and artists who had dedicated their lives to learning and creative expression discovered libraries and workshops within Helheim that contained resources exceeding anything available in the mortal world, enabling them to pursue studies and create works that fulfilled potentials that had been frustrated by the limitations of earthly existence. These intellectual pursuits contributed to the cultural development of posthumous society while preserving and advancing the knowledge that represented humanity's greatest achievements. The children who had died before reaching adulthood received special care within Helheim. Their innocent souls provided with opportunities for growth and education that enabled them to develop the maturity and understanding that had been denied them during their brief earthly existence. These young souls often served as messengers between different areas of the realm, while bringing joy and hope to communities that might otherwise have been dominated by sorrow over lost opportunities and unfulfilled dreams. The complex legal system that governed interactions within Helheim reflected the goddess's commitment to justice while adapting traditional laws to the unique circumstances of posthumous existence, where material property became irrelevant, and personal relationships took precedence over social hierarchies that had characterized mortal society. Disputes that arose between souls were resolved through mediation and community discussion rather than punitive measures, creating systems that emphasized restoration and understanding over punishment and deterrence. The educational opportunities available within Helheim enabled souls to learn skills and acquire knowledge that had been beyond their reach during earthly existence due to social barriers or practical constraints. creating a more egalitarian society where individual merit and interest determined advancement rather than accidents of birth or economic circumstance. These learning opportunities included both practical subjects that enhanced daily life within the realm and theoretical studies that provided deeper understanding of cosmic principles and divine purposes. The recreational activities that flourished within Helheim reflected both the continuation of earthly traditions and the development of new forms of entertainment suited to the unique conditions of posthumous existence. Athletic competitions continued without the risk of permanent injury, while games of strategy and chance provided mental stimulation and social interaction that maintained community bonds, while accommodating the diverse interests and abilities of souls from widely different backgrounds and historical periods. The spiritual practices that developed within Helheim acknowledged both traditional religious observances and new forms of worship that reflected the soul's direct experience of divine reality through their posthumous existence. These practices often involved meditation and contemplation that enabled deeper understanding of cosmic purposes, while providing comfort and guidance for souls struggling to adapt to their transformed circumstances and new forms of existence. The communication systems that connected Helheim with other realms enabled the exchange of information and messages that maintained family bonds and friendships across the boundaries separating life and death. Though these communications required divine authorization and careful regulation to prevent disruption of the natural order, the goddess personally reviewed requests for such contact, ensuring that permitted communications served legitimate purposes while avoiding interference with the development and learning that represented the primary purposes of posthumous existence. The seasonal celebrations that marked important transitions within Helheim adapted traditional festivals to reflect the changed priorities and circumstances of posthumous existence, while maintaining cultural continuity that provided comfort and identity for souls adjusting to their new forms of life. These celebrations often honored achievements and milestones that had special significance within the context of the afterlife, while commemorating earthly traditions that preserved connections to the communities and cultures that had shaped the participants' mortal identities. The architectural projects undertaken within Helheim created monuments and structures that served both practical and symbolic functions, while demonstrating the creative potential that emerged when souls were freed from the material constraints and temporal limitations that had restricted their earthly activities. These buildings often incorporated design elements from various cultures and historical periods, creating a unique architectural style that reflected the diverse backgrounds of the realm's inhabitants, while maintaining harmony and functionality appropriate to their shared circumstances. The gardens and parks that flourished throughout Helheim provided spaces for quiet reflection and natural beauty, while demonstrating that the realm of the dead was not a place of punishment or deprivation, but rather a continuation of existence under different conditions that offered their own opportunities for growth and fulfillment. These cultivated landscapes often featured plants and design elements that had symbolic significance for different cultural groups, while creating universally appealing environments that promoted peace and contemplation. The libraries and archives that preserved the knowledge and cultural achievements of mortal civilization served both educational and historical functions, while ensuring that the wisdom and creativity developed during earthly existence would not be lost, but rather would continue to inspire and guide future generations. These repositories often contained works that had been lost in the mortal world through war or accident, providing access to complete cultural traditions that enabled more comprehensive understanding of human development and achievement. The workshops and laboratories where souls could pursue research and development projects created opportunities for advancing knowledge and creating new technologies that might eventually benefit both posthumous and mortal communities through careful sharing of innovations that did not violate the natural boundaries separating different realms of existence. These research activities often focused on subjects that had practical applications for improving conditions within Helheim, while contributing to the broader cosmic understanding that enhanced divine governance and cosmic stability. The healing centers that serve souls experiencing psychological difficulties in adjusting to posthumous existence provided counseling and support that enabled successful adaptation, while addressing the emotional challenges that could arise from separation from loved ones still living or regret over opportunities missed during earthly life. These therapeutic services often involved group activities and peer support that created communities of mutual assistance while providing professional guidance from souls who had developed expertise in mental and emotional healing during their earthly existence. The artistic communities that flourished within Helheim created works that reflected both individual expression and collaborative projects that brought together souls from different cultural backgrounds and historical periods, resulting in artistic innovations that synthesized diverse traditions while creating entirely new forms of creative expression suited to the unique conditions and opportunities of posthumous existence. These artistic endeavors provided both personal fulfillment and cultural enrichment, while contributing to the beauty and meaning that made the realm a place of genuine comfort and growth rather than merely an alternative to earthly existence. The governance structures that administered different regions of Helheim operated according to principles that balanced local autonomy with overall coordination while respecting the diverse cultural traditions and preferences of souls from different backgrounds and historical periods. These administrative systems emphasize consultation and consensus building rather than authoritarian control, creating political arrangements that reflected the goddess's commitment to justice and respect for individual dignity while maintaining the order necessary for peaceful coexistence among vast populations with potentially conflicting interests and expectations. The economic systems that regulated resource distribution and productive activities within Helheim operated according to principles that emphasize cooperation and mutual benefit, rather than competition and private accumulation, creating arrangements that ensured all souls had access to necessities and opportunities for meaningful activity, while encouraging innovation and excellence through recognition and social approval rather than material rewards. These systems demonstrated that prosperity and progress were possible without the inequalities and conflicts that had characterized many earthly economic arrangements. The transportation networks that enabled movement throughout the vast realm of Helheim utilized both conventional methods adapted to posthumous conditions and supernatural techniques that took advantage of the different physical laws governing the realm of the dead. These systems enabled souls to visit different regions and communities while maintaining connections with friends and family members who might be located in distant areas of the enormous realm, creating social mobility and cultural exchange that enrich the overall quality of posthumous existence. The communication technologies that facilitated information sharing and social interaction throughout Helheim incorporated both traditional methods and innovative techniques that took advantage of the enhanced capabilities available to souls freed from mortal physical limitations. These systems enabled the rapid dissemination of news and knowledge, while providing platforms for artistic and intellectual collaboration that created works and discoveries exceeding what any individual soul could accomplish independently. The environmental management programs that maintained the natural beauty and ecological balance of Helheim demonstrated that the realm of the dead was not a static afterlife, but rather a dynamic environment that required ongoing care and attention to preserve its capacity for supporting meaningful existence and continued development. These programs often involved collaboration between souls with different areas of expertise, while providing opportunities for those who had been farmers or naturalists during their earthly existence to continue contributing their skills and knowledge for the benefit of their posthumous communities. The cultural preservation initiatives that maintained traditions and knowledge from different earthly civilizations ensured that the wisdom and achievements developed during mortal existence would continue to enrich posthumous society while providing newcomers with connections to their cultural heritage that ease the transition from earthly to posthumous existence. These programs often involved elderly souls, sharing their memories and knowledge with more recent arrivals while adapting traditional practices to suit the different conditions and opportunities available within the realm of the dead. The integration programs that helped newly arrived souls adapt to posthumous existence provided orientation and support that enabled successful adjustment while respecting individual preferences and cultural backgrounds that shaped expectations and needs during the transition period. These services often paired newcomers with experienced residents who shared similar backgrounds or interests, while providing formal education about the opportunities and responsibilities associated with existence within Hell's domain. The conflict resolution systems that addressed disputes and disagreements within Helheim emphasized restoration and understanding rather than punishment and deterrence, creating processes that helped conflicting parties develop mutual respect and cooperation, while maintaining the peaceful atmosphere necessary for the contemplation and growth that represented primary purposes of posthumous existence. These systems often drew upon traditional mediation techniques while adapting them to address the unique circumstances and challenges that could arise within communities of souls from diverse backgrounds and historical periods. The innovation programs that encouraged souls to develop new solutions to challenges and opportunities within Helheim created incentives for creativity and problem solving, while ensuring that innovations served community benefit rather than individual advantage. These initiatives often resulted in improvements to daily life within the realm, while demonstrating that posthumous existence offered genuine opportunities for continued growth and contribution, rather than merely passive rest or punishment for earthly failures. The relationship between Helheim and the cosmic forces preparing for Ragnarok remained complex, as the goddess understood that her realm would play crucial roles during the final battle, while maintaining neutrality that reflected her responsibility for all souls, regardless of their earthly allegiances or divine preferences. Her decisions regarding which souls might be permitted to participate in the cosmic conflict would reflect both respect for individual choice and concern for maintaining the stability and security of the vast populations under her protection who sought peaceful existence rather than continued warfare. The prophecies concerning Helheim's fate during Ragnarok suggested that the realm would survive the cosmic destruction that would devastate other areas of existence, providing refuge for souls who would serve as the foundation for whatever new creation might emerge from the ashes of the old cosmos. This potential role as preserver of consciousness and culture created additional responsibilities for the goddess, while offering hope that the wisdom and beauty developed during the current cosmic age would not be entirely lost, but rather would contribute to the renewal that might follow universal destruction. Destruction. The warriors who would march from Helheim during Ragnarok represented souls whose earthly valor had prepared them for this ultimate test, though their posthumous existence had transformed their understanding of what victory and defeat truly meant. These beings had learned through their time in Hell's realm that courage could manifest in forms beyond mere battlefield prowess, encompassing the strength to maintain hope despite certain knowledge of cosmic destruction and the wisdom to fight for principles that transcended personal survival. The preparations within Helheim for the final battle differed fundamentally from the martial training conducted in Valhalla, as Hell's warriors focused on spiritual readiness rather than purely physical conditioning. Their exercises involved meditation on the meaning of sacrifice, contemplation of the values worth preserving through cosmic transition, and development of the inner resilience necessary for facing opponents whose power exceeded anything encountered during mortal existence. These preparations acknowledged that Ragnarok would test the very foundations of consciousness itself. The strategic discussions conducted between Hel and other divine authorities addressed the complex logistics of coordinating forces from multiple realms, while respecting the autonomy that each domain required to maintain its essential character. The goddess's negotiations demonstrated her diplomatic skills while revealing the careful balance she maintained between supporting cosmic order and preserving her independence from the political pressures that might compromise her ability to serve all souls equally regardless of their earthly affiliations or divine preferences. The armaments provided to Helheim's warriors reflected the unique nature of their contribution to the cosmic conflict, as these souls required weapons that could affect spiritual as well as physical opponents, while maintaining the moral authority that distinguished them from the chaotic forces they would confront. These implements combined traditional martial effectiveness with symbolic significance that reminded their wielders of the higher purposes that justified their participation in what would inevitably become the most destructive conflict in cosmic history. The training alliances formed between Helheim and other realms created opportunities for souls to work alongside living beings in preparation for battles that would require unprecedented cooperation between different forms of existence. These joint exercises revealed both the potential for effective collaboration and the challenges that arose when beings with fundamentally different perspectives on life and death attempted to coordinate their efforts toward common goals that each group understood differently based on their unique experiences and circumstances. The intelligence networks that connected Helheim with cosmic monitoring systems provided the goddess with information about enemy movements and strategic developments while enabling her to coordinate her realm's contributions to the overall defensive effort without compromising the neutrality that remained essential for maintaining her authority over souls from all backgrounds and allegiances. These communication channels required careful management to ensure that military cooperation did not create obligations that might conflict with her primary responsibility for protecting the vast populations under her care. The economic contributions that Helheim made to the cosmic preparation effort involved providing resources and services that reflected the realm's unique capabilities while maintaining the productive activities that sustained its enormous population. The souls within Hel's domain possessed knowledge and skills accumulated over generations of earthly existence, creating a reservoir of expertise that proved invaluable for solving technical problems and developing innovations that enhanced the effectiveness of forces throughout all allied realms. The philosophical discussions that flourished within Helheim during this preparatory period addressed fundamental questions about the nature of existence and the meaning of struggle against inevitable destruction, while maintaining hope for renewal beyond the anticipated catastrophe. These conversations provided intellectual framework for understanding why resistance remained worthwhile even when victory appeared impossible, creating conceptual foundations that enabled souls to maintain motivation and effectiveness despite certain knowledge of their ultimate fate. The cultural projects undertaken within Helheim during this period focused on preserving essential knowledge and values that might survive cosmic destruction through transmission to whatever consciousness might emerge from the renewal that was prophesied to follow Ragnarok. These preservation efforts created archives and educational programs that could function independently of physical infrastructure while maintaining accessibility for beings whose forms of existence might differ dramatically from current cosmic inhabitants. The artistic collaborations that connected souls within Helheim with creative beings throughout other realms produced works that synthesized perspectives from multiple forms of existence while creating beauty that transcended the boundaries separating life and death. These projects demonstrated that meaningful cooperation could occur between fundamentally different types of beings when they shared commitment to purposes that exceeded their individual circumstances and limitations. The research initiatives conducted within Helheim explored questions about the nature of consciousness and its potential for survival through cosmic transformation, while developing practical techniques that might enhance the probability of meaningful continuity beyond the destruction that would reshape all existing structures. These investigations required collaboration between souls with diverse areas of expertise, while maintaining ethical standards that prevented exploitation of posthumous existence for purposes that violated the dignity and autonomy of participating souls. The diplomatic missions that Hel undertook to maintain relationships with neutral powers throughout the cosmic community created opportunities for preventing unnecessary conflicts that might complicate the already challenging circumstances surrounding Ragnarok, while building alliances that could prove crucial for protecting innocent beings who would become casualties of wars they had not chosen to join. These negotiations required sophisticated understanding of competing interests and cultural differences that characterize the diverse populations inhabiting different cosmic realms. The educational reforms implemented within Helheim prepared souls for the possibility that they might need to assume leadership roles in whatever civilization emerged from cosmic destruction, while ensuring that essential knowledge about governance, technology, and social organization would remain available for rebuilding efforts that might require rapid development of complex institutions and systems. These programs emphasized both practical skills and theoretical understanding while maintaining flexibility that could accommodate circumstances that might differ dramatically from current cosmic arrangements. The healing programs developed within Helheim addressed both individual psychological preparation for cosmic crisis and community resilience that would enable posthumous society to maintain stability despite the stress and uncertainty created by approaching destruction. These therapeutic initiatives recognize that mental and emotional health would prove just as crucial as physical capability for surviving the challenges that would test all forms of existence during the final battle and its aftermath. The agricultural and resource management systems enhanced within Helheim created sustainable production methods that could continue functioning even if cosmic destruction disrupted normal supply chains and trade relationships, while providing models that might prove useful for whatever civilizations emerged from the renewal that was expected to follow Ragnarok. These innovations demonstrated that posthumous existence offered genuine opportunities for continued learning and development rather than mere passive waiting for cosmic transformation. The construction projects undertaken within Helheim during this period created infrastructure that could serve as refuge for additional souls who might arrive during the cosmic crisis, while demonstrating architectural and engineering techniques that utilized resources and methods suited to conditions that might exist in whatever universe emerged from the current cosmic cycle. These buildings incorporated both practical functionality and symbolic significance while maintaining beauty that provided psychological comfort during periods of uncertainty and stress. The transportation systems developed within Helheim enabled rapid movement of personnel and resources throughout the vast realm, while creating capabilities for evacuating vulnerable populations to secure areas during the most dangerous phases of cosmic conflict. These networks incorporated both conventional methods adapted to posthumous conditions and innovative techniques that took advantage of the different physical laws governing the realm of the dead while maintaining reliability under crisis conditions. The communication systems expanded within Helheim created redundant networks that could maintain coordination and information flow, even if primary channels faced disruption during cosmic warfare, while enabling continued contact with allies throughout other realms, despite the interference and chaos that would characterize the final battle. These systems incorporated both technological solutions and supernatural methods, while maintaining security protocols that prevented enemy exploitation of divine communication networks. The manufacturing capabilities enhanced within Helheim produced equipment and supplies needed for cosmic defense, while demonstrating production techniques that might prove essential for rebuilding civilization after cosmic destruction eliminated existing industrial infrastructure. These facilities created everything from basic necessities to sophisticated technologies, while training souls in skills that might prove crucial for whatever communities would emerge from the anticipated renewal of cosmic existence. The scientific research conducted within Helheim explored fundamental questions about the nature of reality and the mechanisms that governed cosmic transformation, while developing practical applications that enhanced defensive capabilities and survival prospects for beings throughout allied realms. These investigations required collaboration between souls with diverse backgrounds, while maintaining ethical standards that prevented research from creating new threats or violating the dignity of conscious beings serving as experimental subjects. The magical studies pursued within Helheim investigated supernatural phenomena and techniques that might provide advantages during cosmic conflict, while maintaining the moral constraints that distinguish divine magic from the chaotic forces employed by hostile powers. These programs created new spells and rituals that enhanced combat effectiveness, while developing protective measures that could shield vulnerable populations from the most destructive effects of supernatural warfare. The alliance negotiations conducted between Helheim and various neutral powers throughout the cosmic community created diplomatic frameworks that might prevent unnecessary conflicts, while building coalitions that could provide mutual protection during the most dangerous phases of cosmic crisis. These agreements required sophisticated understanding of competing interests and cultural differences, while maintaining flexibility that could accommodate changing circumstances and evolving strategic requirements. The intelligence operations coordinated between Helheim and allied realms provided information about enemy activities and strategic plans, while maintaining security protocols that protected sources and methods from discovery by hostile forces seeking to disrupt divine coordination efforts. These activities required careful balance between aggressive information gathering and defensive security measures, while respecting the ethical constraints that governed legitimate intelligence operations, as distinguished from the espionage and sabotage employed by chaotic powers. The training programs established within Helheim prepared souls for various roles they might need to fulfill during cosmic crisis, while maintaining educational standards that ensured competence without compromising the personal development and spiritual growth that represented primary purposes of posthumous existence. These programs addressed both military and civilian functions, while providing cross-training that enabled individuals to adapt to changing circumstances and emerging requirements during chaotic periods. The cultural exchange programs that connected Helheim with communities throughout other realms created mutual understanding and cooperation that strengthened alliances while preserving the diversity that enriched cosmic civilization through different perspectives and approaches to common challenges. These initiatives demonstrated that meaningful collaboration could occur between fundamentally different forms of existence, while maintaining respect for individual autonomy and cultural traditions that provided identity and meaning for participating communities. The environmental monitoring systems established within Helheim tracked changes in cosmic conditions that might indicate approaching crisis, while providing early warning capabilities that enabled coordinated responses to emerging threats before they could develop into major disasters. These networks incorporated both natural observation methods and supernatural detection techniques, while maintaining coverage of areas throughout multiple realms that might serve as staging areas for hostile forces or sources of environmental hazards. The evacuation plans developed within Helheim addressed the challenges of protecting vulnerable populations during cosmic warfare, while maintaining operational capabilities that could continue contributing to defensive efforts throughout the crisis period. These preparations involved both physical relocation procedures and spiritual protection measures, while creating contingencies that could accommodate various scenarios, ranging from limited regional conflicts to complete cosmic destruction, requiring fundamental transformation of existence itself. And so we reach the end of our journey through the vast tapestry of Norse mythology, having travelled from the primordial void of Ginnungagap through the golden halls of Asgard to the twilight realm of Helheim. These ancient stories, born in the mead halls of Viking longships and preserved through centuries of oral tradition, continue to speak to something fundamental in the human spirit. They remind us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to stand against the darkness even when we know the dawn may never come. May these timeless tales of gods and giants, of wisdom and folly, of love and loss, carry you gently into peaceful sleep.